Hello all, Jake here for redlinemotorsport.co.uk. You've joined us for another round of the Wednesday Championship. This will be round 4 at the Hungaroring today. Right, nice sunny conditions so far for today's race. Hopefully the guys will be definitely hoping for a dry race today, as we've had definitely a couple of wet races so far. Looking nice so far though. We just jumped into qualifying. We have 27 minutes left. Be followed by an hour race. So far I think we've seen some of the guys. I think it was James currently been the quickest guy on track, so we'll jump over and see if they managed to get any times in so far. So it looks as if they're just on their out laps on the minute as we join them. So here is James. Starts off with a 1 minute 43.4. Pretty sure we saw him drop into the 142s earlier. It was the only one. He had about a 2-3 gap during practice, but we don't know what sort of fuel loads they're running during practice, so we'll see what they get up to during qualifying. Just a little rundown as points are currently. We've got Albert leading the championship in the Ferrari with 101 points after 3 races. They've got Chris Hoagie in second with 74 points, so good, almost 30 point advantage for Albert so far. Alberto is in P3, only 2 points behind Chris on 72. A further 2 points behind, we've got James Parker in P4 with 70 points, and a gap of almost 20 points down to Willem in P5 with 52 points. So really tight for P2, 3 and 4, only covered by 4 points for those 3 drivers, and a big gap up to Albert. So Albert's done really well so far at the start of this championship, gained himself almost 30-point lead so far. So he's definitely in the hot spot at the minute, and that'll be his to lose for sure. He hasn't been posting the fastest times so far in practice, but he's definitely been up there, and we've known that he can definitely pull some times out as it comes towards the end of qualifying. As we get down to optimal conditions, not always showing his hand straight off the bat. Looks like Alberto has managed to get himself up into P2 at the minute with 44.0. I expect to see those times come down quite a bit yet. Still waiting for some of the other top guys to get their times in at the minute. We haven't seen one by Chris or Samir yet. Expecting pretty quick times by those guys. Jump on board with Alberto at the minute. Done a great job so far this season with his results, getting him into P3 and this good fight for the second spot in the championship at the minute. So he makes a slight mistake there, or decides to give Badmoon the space to continue on his lap. Samir just getting up into P4 there with a lap. Jump on board with Yuri here in the Mercedes. He's currently done a 144.3. Got him into P5 so far. Full use of track limits there. Usually a track you find track limits are definitely used to their most in a few areas. Not one of the easiest tracks to pass on, this one. Only a few really good solid passing opportunities. You've obviously got the one down into turn 1. Turn 2 can also be a good opportunity to pass. You've then got the right hand kink, and then the left hand at the top. It's possible to pass there, but you need to really set it up for a couple of corners beforehand. Then passing anywhere else in the midfield is going to be very, very opportunistic to get a pass anywhere around there. You're going to really have to force someone into a mistake. Otherwise, you're going to have to most possibly wait until you come around at the start-finish straight again. So I think there's going to be a lot of interest in nose-to-tail racing here today, just trying to figure out best ways to get past someone. But most of the action is going to go on down into turn 1. Jump on board with Tony here because he's jumped himself up into P1 at the minute with a 143.2. It's a good lap by him so far. Puts him about 1.5 tenths in front of James. So it looks like Mercedes are running well today. This sort of style of track is suiting them. Good to see we've got one of the Lexuses up in the top 10 with their good friend and our other RLM commentator Fabian. It's in P6 currently. Also have Offrey's Bad Moon in the Lexus as well, down in 13th currently. Could jump on board with one of our new drivers here, I believe. I don't remember seeing his name before. He's one of the only guys I do believe in the Audi. Great to see someone out there choosing the Audi. Awesome sounding car. It's doing very well in his hands so far. Currently up into P8 with a 144.3, so great job to him. The Salvatore Ameto's done well in the Ferrari, up to P4 currently with 143.9, so just able to get into the 43s there. It seems that one was disallowed. Actually, it was a 144.1 in his registered time. As we're still waiting actually for some of our top runners to actually set a lap time. Our championship leader Albert has not set a time yet, nor has Chris Hoagie. Expect to see them jump up the leaderboard. Expect them, both of them, to be top 5 today for qualifying at least. Just as I say that, Chris has put in his first and fastest lap, 143.2, jumps him straight up on the top spot by only 1/100th of a second. He take the provisional pole at the minute. Has Vicky done a great job and jumped herself up into P6 with her 144 dead. Good to see her back up there. Just we missed her from last round's race. Jump on board here with Chris and see how he's getting on. So I'm sure he'll thank me for pointing out to you there that he's obviously using map 1, which is the most aggressive map. With TC of 3 and ABS of 3 as well. Are there any other Lambo drivers out there? I'll take note. I guess slight improvement that lap as well, just about another 10th. So puts him about a 10th or so clear of Tony in P2. Jump on board with Dennis here, another one of the Mercedes drivers. Currently P11, 145.5. 144.8, sorry, that was his last lap, 145. This corner here, this fast left being one that they definitely use most of the track and exploit every bit of track limits they're allowed. So too as we make our way up to the chicane here. See how much Dennis is using. Oh, he's behaving very well. Dennis is not cutting the chicane at all. Struggling a little bit of oversteer, understeer there. See if he's able to improve his time. Must have caught him on an out lap there, as he's now going to go on a hot lap. Jump on board with Vicky in one of the only BMWs out there, I believe. No, I'm wrong, as Stuart's out there in P13. Not one of the most commonly chosen cars, but doing a great job in the BMW, however. Decides to back off, give himself a little bit of breathing space to the Mercedes in front of Alberto there. Alberto's one of the currently still holding P4, so definitely a quick driver. Always possible to try and gain a bit of a distant tow, but you also don't want to be distracted by the driver ahead of you if they make any mistakes. Jump on board with Mark here down in P20 at the minute. Best time currently for 1:47.5. One of the maybe possibly only or few McLarens out there. Good to see that McLarens have got one car in the race at least. Currently no changes in the top 5 over the last 5 or 10 minutes. Most of them are out on track at the minute, but whether they're still waiting for track conditions to improve. We've got Giorgio here, another new driver, I do believe. Another Ferrari driver here. He's doing well currently, got himself into P13 with a 145 flat. So only about a tenth and a half off P13, so doesn't need to find a lot to climb some positions at the minute. It's currently only about a 1 second covering P1 to P8, even say P9, just over a second for covering the top 9 drivers. So should really be treated to a good race here today. So we see, is that Chris off in the gravel there? Small mistake by him, pushing quite hard to try and find a little bit more lap time. So you've got Xavier here, another new driver here in the BMW, currently P19. Best time so far, 1 minute 46.8. Should jump on board with Offrey's Bad Moon in a minute. The second Lexus driver out there, I do believe. It's one of our AM drivers out there, currently P16, the 145.4. Let's have a look at our current standings. So it's Ezrins in P8 currently are doing really well for the AM class. I've done quite a few of the pro drivers there in the Audi. And our current AM leader is Angelo in P12 there in the Lamborghini. Oh, as you saw a bit of contact there through the leaderboard. We're not seeing much changes from these drivers yet. If they've given their all at the minute, have given everything they've got, we aren't going to see much changes. Still 7.5 minutes to go yet, so I'm sure the drivers will all be back out for one last attempt to see if they can improve on their lap times. So we have got 3 Lexuses out there today by the looks of it. We've got John here in P21st. currently with a 1:48.5. I'd be hoping to improve his lap time a little bit, hopefully bump him up the order by a few positions. Jump back on board with our leader Chris is just as he starts a fresh lap. I'm going to go on board and see how he does these magical times that he's able to achieve right now. Just flat out through the right hand kink there, use all the road. Going to come right over to the right, braking real hard, get it turning nice and early there. Cut the crest of the hill there as much as you can. Really trying hard at the minute, trying to carry as much as the speed through the long right-hander there as you come up towards the chicane. Cutting the chicane there a little bit, but not too much. Compromise stability as you come through the left and right kinks here. Very important to place the car as one corner leads straight into the next. BMW getting nicely out of the way there for him. Bring real hard down here to the right hand as you come up towards the last set of corners. A few little stabs of throttle there, not some of the smoothest driving I've seen from him so far. He's really trying hard to squeeze any time out of this he can. Oh, it's another great lap time. It would have put him in pole, but he's about half a tenth down on what he's done already today. Just going to jump on board with James here, currently in P3. So he's now going to come around and attempt another hot lap. Excellent hard off the last turn, trying to carry as much speed as you can down the straight in the hard braking zone for turn 1. At 250 kilometers an hour down to turn 1. Turns and hard, clips his first apex nice and tightly there. It's a real tricky corner here at turn 2. Going to try not to go too wide and understeer, so you can get back over for the fast right hand and kink here at the bottom of the hill. Back up the hill again here for his fast left hand. I've got to clip this just right. Don't be too greedy and take too much exit curve because you get your lap disallowed. Goes momentum nicely through the right hander there, nice and early on the throttle. Stays out wide. Clips the first one nicely, second one a bit heavy on the sausage curb there. That's really upset the balance. It could affect his lap a little bit. Nice and smooth through the first set of S's there. Carries good speed on the exit of the second set of S's. Oh, a little bit wide of apex there. Just last couple of corners to go. Carries good speed through the penultimate corner. And 1:45, yeah, he's struggling on that lap a bit. We were following on board there with James. It seems that Tony has managed to jump up a position and he's taken the provisional pole spot for now with a 1:43.0. So he's managed to take about two tenths off his original best. So a great improvement there for Tony, and that's not what Chris wanted to see this late in qualifying with only a couple of minutes left. That may be the top spot. Whether Chris is going to be able to retaliate, we shall see. We'll jump on board with Chris and see what he's up to at the minute. Just a surprise that I'm seeing here is that Albert, our championship leader, is down in 23rd position at the minute, currently not setting a lap time. And he is in the pits, so I don't see him getting a lap time in, so he's going to be starting at the back of the field today. That will be interesting to see the sort of progress he can make. I can't think that he's done that on purpose to set himself a challenge, but a challenge he'll have nonetheless. Chris should have enough time to finish this lap, get one more lap. James is in the pit now, so we won't see him improve from his P3 position. Salvador Ameto has improved slightly and has pushed himself up to P4, and Alberto down to P5. Fabian has put a good lap in towards the end, getting himself up to P6 in the Lexus, and has pushed Vicky down into P7 in the BMW, but Vicky's still out on track, so she can still improve. Jump on board with Alberto here, see where he is currently on the lap. Yeah, he may still have just enough time here to get round and start one more lap. Unusual to see Samir so far down the order, currently only in P8 with 143.8. Still a great lap time, but we're used to seeing him up in the top 5. Just going to jump to Vicky, one of the last few people out on track, taking heavy use of the curb there through the chicane. Still managing to keep the momentum going though. Just keeping an eye on the leaderboard to see if we see any other last minute improvements as Vicky abandons her lap. We're just going to jump on with Chris because he's still going at the minute. Just that last corner, let's see. It was his last attempt. He's done it. Oh my god, what a time to put the lap in. 100 faster than Tony on his last lap. That is incredible time in there for Chris. What a qualifying session, down to the last few seconds there. So there you have it, Chris snuck pole there from Tony. I'm sure he thought he'd done enough there and to nab it by such a margin. Great to see. James got P3 in the end, great job by him. Ameto P4 and Jean Frest in P5. So with all those times so close together, we should be in for a treat of a race today. Let's just hope that the start goes off without a hitch. We don't see any incidents down through the first few turns of the race. They've got an hour-long race, so plenty of time to make positions up. It's not won or lost in the first corner. Well, lost could be, but it's not going to be won for sure. Save a few minutes now just to make any final preparation changes. And we are, by the looks of it, going to have a nice dry sunny race today, which we've had a bit of rain and dark skies of late, so this will be what the drivers will be looking forward to. And as you see it there, just to confirm, Mr. A. Sultan at the bottom of the pack. We would expect to see him up in the top few positions, being that he's been leading the championship and winning a couple of races this season. He's going to have a definite fight on his battle coming from the back, but we'll definitely be trying to keep track of his progress through the race, because he will. I definitely expect to see him. He's definitely going to get in the top 10, I reckon, for sure, if it goes off without a hitch. But whether we can see him make top 5, I know he's got pace, but that could be a bit much of an ask. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's definitely a chance for the likes of Chris and James and Alberto to make some points up on Albert today. With that 30-point lead's going to come in handy for him, not being starting up at the front today. Just a minute and a half to go for the race start. Again, we've got an hour-long race today. Just me here, Jake, I'm afraid, today. No Simon. We all wish Simon the best and hope he gets well soon, because we definitely miss him here on the commentary team. Just a minute to go now. Maybe be hard pressed to better guess Chris today, taking the pole spot. His times through practice have been pretty good, and we know his consistency's there. We haven't seen Tony do quite so well, but he hasn't had the best of luck at the starts. Now, being on the front row, hopefully he should get a lot cleaner getaway today, and hopefully be able to really get stuck into the race. With James in P3 behind Chris as well, you won't be able to count him out. He's definitely going to have a good chance of setting some really good times during practice earlier. Alberto in P5, he's been finishing really strong so far this season. And we've got the likes of Fabian and Vicky as well. Another couple of drivers in the top 10 that we could definitely see right up on the top spot. They now pull away off onto their formation lap. So we're going to go helicam. So we can keep an eye on the whole grid there. At 23 drivers in today's race. I do believe almost every manufacturer here today. Not sure if we've got a Nissan here with us today. Might be the only one missing from the grid. There he is, your championship leader, sitting at the back there. I wonder if he's just looking for a challenge today. The thing would be to just check as well, if you can bear with me 1 second, see if he's incurred any penalty points. He's had to start at the back. No, doesn't seem to have incurred any penalty points at the minute, so yeah, a little bit Unsure as to why he's starting at the back today, but it'll be interesting to see him make his way through the grid, as he'll definitely have the pace, no doubt. As we draw a bit of scenery there as the camera tries to catch back up. All the drivers behaving nicely there. Just going to formation lap, trying to warm the tyres, a bit of heat in the brakes, ready for the race start. The big braking zone down into turn 1, plenty of opportunities to make a position or two, then also down to turn 2 as well. Definitely able to make some positions there, go too wide, carry it all the way down to the fast left where we should see them break back into double single file. Getting a little close down the front there as they're all eager to get into positions. As they start to line up, double file. Here goes, we wait for the lights to go out for the start of round 4. Race start initialised. Here we go. Who is going to get the whole shot down to turn 1? Looks like Chris has done a good job down the inside so far. Tony trying to go deep and round the outside. All nice and neat so far. Chris squeezing Tony out as he's managed to stay alongside. Will he be able to tack him down to turn 2 here? He's still managed to stay up alongside. Chris goes deep, tries to keep it around the outside. Tony with great traction off turn 2, gets the pass done. Great pass by Tony, getting himself up into P1, demoting Chris down to P2. James managed to hold P3, and looks like Alberto has managed to get himself up into P4 past Salvador. Great start by these guys. So we're just going to jump a little bit further down to see what's going on here. Hopefully all the drivers have managed to keep going at the start. Just jump onto Albert there from P24 there up to P19 off the start. So there's 3-4 positions gained there. Great start by him. Tony looks like he's trying to get the hammer down early today. He's really bolted. And Chris is going to be holding off James here for the first few laps. Oh, is there contact between James and Chris? Oh, what a shame. Another poor start for Chris, and he can't rejoin. He's going to have to wait. Oh, what a shame to see that there by for Chris, as that promotes Alberto up into P2. So you've got to capitalise when it happens, and Meta into P3, and that puts James down into P4. I'm not sure who caused it there, but it looked like it was contact from behind from James. So whether they're a mistake from Chris yet, we don't know. We'll have to find out later. We jump on board with Samir here. Doing good, managed to gain himself a couple of positions in their commotion, most likely there, to P5. We jump on board with Fabian here, having a good battle with Angelo. No, that's Martin Stewart. I do apologise. Great pass by Martin Stewart there on Fabian up to the fast left-hander. Great little battle here with these guys. That's Angelo behind in the Lamborghini. I do apologise for that. So currently the AM leader is a big mistake for Stewart there as he goes into the chicane. Catch far too much sausage curb, sending him skywards, giving the position back to Fabian. So all that hard work undone for Stewart. Just need to compose himself now. Find his pace, get his rhythm back, and go back on the attack after Fabian. jump on board with Hoffman here, and one of the Mercedes drivers, holding P10 here to Dennis and Badmoon in the Lexus. Big bunch of drivers here, really nose to tail, very close as they come to the last turn there. Still able to hold position, but will we see the slipstream effect be quite high here today? It pulls out very early. It's a bit too close to gain the best advantage from the slipstream here, and manages to hold on to the position there for Hoffman. Good defence. Oh, a bit of contact down into turn 1 there. What a shame to see that. Jump back up your leaders. Alberto still holding well in P2 here. Tony is still trying to pull away at the minute, but a 1.5 second gap. As things start to calm down as they get past the first few laps of the race. So as we currently have a look through, Chris, after that incident, is down in P18, where Albert has made his way up to P14, so that's 10 positions gained in the first few laps. He said he was going to make his way through the field quickly, so possibly we could see him up in the top 5 towards the end of the race. I'm going to jump on board with Albert now as he's trying to make a pass. Pass on Xavier there, I do apologise, in the BMW. Not the easiest paces to pass here. He's going to just hang fire for a couple more corners. Set himself up out of the last turn, see if he can get the pass made down into T1. Tucks himself nicely in the slipstream, maybe not quite as close as he wants to be. We'll see how strong Albert is on the brakes when he decides to make a dive for it. No, I think it's better of it this time round. Gonna jump on with Meto here, holding off James for P3. James, of course, obviously losing a couple of positions after that contact with Chris. He definitely came out better of the two, as he only lost a position where Chris lost a good 15 positions. And he'll have a lot of work to do to be able to make his way up back up that far, especially if he got any damage from the crash. Alberto in P2, those doing a really good job matching Tony last time round for the last lap, so he's managed to stop the break of Tony early on. The both of them managed to pull at 0.3 of a second on this little battle of Meto and James here for P3. James will be seeing the two guys ahead just start to eke away a little bit, and we want to make sure they don't get too far up ahead as the race goes on, so James will need to see if he can get the pass done soon on the Meto if he wants any chance of getting those positions back. Likewise, Samir in P5 doing well in the Porsche. Might be one of the only Porsche drivers in there today. So Alberto P2 just slightly faster than Tony that lap around, so he's actually just starting to put a little bit of charge in and see if he can reel Tony in. So it looks like Albert was able to get past Xavier in the last lap. Brings him up to P12 now. He'll be hunting down off his Badmoon for P11 soon. We jump on here, and if Vicky was caught up in one of the accidents, she finds herself down P16 where she was P6 earlier, P6, P7. A shame to see that from Vicky. Whether she was caught up in an incident, whether it's a mistake, we shall find out. It's a shame, she was running really well early on. She's got Chris there just behind, he also caught out in the incident earlier. So we jump on board with Badmoon here, as he's trying to defend and attack at the same time as he's got Albert all over his bumpers at the minute while he's trying trying his best to attack Hoffman for P10. Not easy to pass around these fast S's sections. I'm going to be patient and wait for the main straight, really. Oh, really wide for Hoffman. I wonder if they're going to be able to capitalise on that. No, able to maintain his pace still. Oh, contact! Bad Moon and Hoffman, no! Oh, such a shame to see, but Albert really benefiting from this contact. Like, we're going to gain 2 positions there in one corner. Such a shame. So we're going to jump on board with James there. I think he just missed it as he's made the pass on Ameto down into turn 1, I think, there. That frees him up a little bit. He's got a bit of clean air ahead of him now, and he'll be able to go chasing down after Alberto for P2. Rectify some of the time lost from earlier. Ezerin's P6 doing really well. Top AM driver out there in P6 doing really well. Maybe he ought to be pro class in the next few rounds. We'll see how well he's doing. It's very high for an AM driver, doing a really good job in the Audi. Jump on with Xavier here, P11. Looks like he's managed to capitalise from the contact between Badman and Hoffman, moving him up to P11. He's got Dennis and Chris right on his tail, and Vicky. Small mistake there, I think, from Dennis, allowing Chris through, possibly. Yeah, that's another position for Chris. He can't really take his time with these drivers. He's going to have to get through them quick if he was any hopes of getting up into the top points positions. As you did just see that, there was Albert there just in front, so Chris is able to pass Xavier and hunting down after Albert. That would be ideal, and be able to follow Albert through the field. A little flash of lights there by Chris, just trying to distract the guy. See if he can squeeze him into a little lock-up or a mistake, but great driving by Xavier there. He wasn't put off in the slightest. Actually, a small mistake by Chris, but it looks like may have put himself off there. Jump on with Bad Moon hit again, back fighting again with Hoffman. Same 2 drivers that had the contact earlier. Looks like both have managed to continue on okay. Hopefully not too much damage. Hoffman catches far too much inside curb there on the fast left-hander, spinning him around into the wall. What a shame. So going to jump back on board with Xavier here. Still got Chris all over his back bumper. Chris trying all sorts, but just not the space or track to really pass around this section of the circuit. Maybe with a great exit down here to the tight right-hander, but I just don't think there's going to be enough time to get the run on him. No, he has to fall back into position. As Vicky has made her way past Dennis in the background. She's now lining up to also to have a go at Xavier. As Chris got on the inside there, real sneaky bit of contact, paint rubbing. Oh, more contact, spin from Xavier. Oh, what a shame. He's doing such a good job there to hold Chris off. They got a bit of contact going on there. Just jump on board with Vicky. She's now having to defend her to Dennis after getting through with that bit of contact between the 2 in front. That just left her vulnerable, but good defence as she holds on to the position. Jump back on over your race leader. Hasn't had much airtime yet, so just believe he's got himself back past a back marker there. Good job so far. Good pace by Tony, holding on to P1. holding the gap around about a second to Alberto, so hasn't managed to get the break that he would have wanted, but able to keep a little healthy gap there at least. Fastest time from Tony so far, 1:44.6. Last lap round there's a 44.9, so sort of 3 to 4 tenths off his fastest time, so this is quite good pace at the minute. Where the tyres are still nice and fresh, only 15 minutes in. James has really managed to rectify with a mistake or contact that there was earlier, himself back up into P3 and only a few seconds off the leader really here, so his best time about a tenth faster than Tony, and he's able to keep that sort of pace up, only being a tenth off his fastest lap on that last lap, so he's definitely reeling these two guys in at the minute, as that's really clear to see once he got past Nemetto. Looking at the times, Nemetto just not able to keep it in the 44s on the last lap. Definitely have to keep an eye on James here, as he's really starting to reel in on Alberto. Looks like Chris was actually able to continue after the contact. It was just Xavier that lost out in that little scuffle. Chris is currently P11, as Albert's P10, still ahead of him, and Vicky is just behind in P12. This is what we want to see. We want to see a real straight fight for these top positions. Far too many times in the last few rounds we've seen the leader get away through a bit of contact or incident in the first few laps, allowing the leader to have too much comfort to just start pulling away, and Tony's not going to get that today. James is reeling Alberto in, tries for the move, little dummy doesn't think of it this time around, drops back in line. Didn't quite have the pace advantage to make the pass down to turn 1 this time around. See, this is the thing with the nature circuit like this, you're going to get one real good passing opportunity per lap really. Most of the rest of the lap is one line really, not any easy overtaking opportunities unless one of the guys ahead make a mistake. But he's definitely sticking to the back of Alberto. He's just got a bit more pace in his car at the minute. So James's Mercedes definitely copes better with the high fuel loads that they'll be running still at the minute. Alberto just struggling a little bit more. Maybe his car will start to liven up as he burns the fuel off. It's just rear kicking out just a little bit there through the S's, really showing that he is pushing. He's pushing hard. But this fight here from James has really allowed Tony just to start equaling away a little bit, as Alberto has to keep going on the defensive, costing these guys time to the leader. It's just what Tony wants at the minute. As James can see him just visibly getting further away, James is desperate now to try and make a pass as soon as possible. He's now going to come up with his best attempt here. He's going to need a good exit off the last turn. Carry a lot of speed. You see Alberto go straight over to the inside there to break the toe. Don't know whether he's able to go deep and go around the long way, whether he can go for the cutback, square the corner off. Good exit there by James, but just nowhere to go. Just not able to make that pass yet. He's got to sit there patiently and just try and force an error out of Alberto. jump on board with Ezerin's here, still holding on to P6, doing a great job in the Audi as Fabian in the Lexus has really started to reel him in now. Likewise, Yuri in P8, oh, really wide there for Yuri as we jumped on board with these guys. Some time he'll have to make back up to get on the back of this pack now. We haven't seen much of the Audis in this champ so far, so it's great to see some of the guys using the Audis out there. Fabian just showing his nose there, just trying to distract the driver ahead, just to try and force him into a little snatch of the brakes, or just a little misjudgment, trying to force an error, because it's not an easy track to get the pass done around here. So just jump on board with Alberto just to see if James managed to able to get the slipstream this time around. Definitely better than the last few attempts. He pulls out, see if he's going to have to go for it on the brakes. Good attempt down the inside on the brakes, perfectly judged. Great pass there by James. Pulls over, take this inside line, defend any comeback from Alberto, but that's the pass done. Great clean pass there by James. Took a few laps just to line that one up, but he hasn't allowed Tony to get too far down the line. So now he's got a bit of fresh air and he can start putting some hot laps back in to go after the winning spot. They jump back on board with Fabian here, as he did manage to get the pass. A shame we missed that, as we were jumping on board to catch James's pass, but a great pass there, I'm sure it was, by Fabian. Raced him myself, very clean driver, so I'm sure it would have been a very clean, calculated move. Now he's got a fair gap ahead of him, Fabian, up to Samir in the Porsche in P5, so now he's got a bit of clear air. He'll be able to see what sort of lap times he can put down and see if he can make a bit of a dent into the gap up to Samir. So we take a look at where our back runners have managed to get up to. Albert he's up to P9 currently in the gap between Martin and Yuri. So yeah, we just saw him go in the back a shot, yeah, so he won't be too long before he's on the back of these guys, trying to make a few more positions. Chris is still in P11, just behind Martin Stewart, and Vicky not too far behind Chris. Looks like Fabian's done enough this lap to try just to break Ezerin in P7 now in the Audi. Just to stop any chance of retaliation down to turn 1. Yeah, a bit wide there by the Audi in the background. They're trying hard to stay with Fabian as he goes on the hunt down for P5. We jump on board with Zylstra here in the Ferrari, as he's currently got Bad Moon on his tail as they come down to turn 1. Decides he has to go defensive as Bad Moon had a good run. Bad Moon's going to try to go around the outside. He needs to really square this off and get the power down. Not quite able to do it this time around. Good effort though. Maybe he's going to have another little try here, just not quite able to get close. We're going to jump on board with Yuri here, as he's got Albert all over the back of him now. As much as Yuri might not want to hear it, this might be a matter of time here really, because he knows the sort of pace that Albert will have in him. Maybe if he's clever here, he might just see if he can latch on to the back of Albert. If he doesn't lose much time with Albert passing, it may allow him just to catch up to the two guys ahead and really make advantage of Albert pushing his way through the pack, or passing his way through the pack, should I say. able to make the pass down to turn 1 this time around. But we know the sort of pace that Albert's got in him. Yeah, definitely down sort of low 44 area from practice. These guys are all sort of mid 45s, 46s. So I would expect Albert to be able to get past him at some point. I say not one of the easiest tracks to get past. As Yuri here is really trying to get on the attack for P7. Doing his absolute best to keep Albert behind him, to attack and defend at the same time. It's such a hard thing to do, just to know how hard to push, because you make the smallest of errors, you're going to let the guy behind through as well. But just showing his nose there as they go down to the right hand, a small mistake there by Ezrin. Albert not able to make his way through, but Yuri possibly able to capitalise around the outside of the penultimate corner. Great opportunistic move there from Yuri. I think Albert's going to follow his way through. Great pressure in there by Yuri. Managed to push Ezrin there into a small mistake. Now I wonder if the Audi's able to get a good slipstream from Albert here. Even Albert might have to go defensive here. Yeah, he pulls defensive. I'm sure he'll be able to hold that position, but Ezrin going to try around the outside. Yeah, not quite able to make that stick. Give Yuri a chance here just to put the hammer down, try and put some air between him and Albert. Looks like Tony's still doing a really good job in P1, holding on to this real good consistent pace from Tony. His fastest lap the last time around. So he's managed to eat the pace up after he's seen James start to make a little bit of dent into his gap. But with still just over half a race left, you don't want to be pushing too hard and taking the best out of your tyres yet. Still a ways to go here. Just going to stay on board with these guys at the minute, because definitely the closest cars on track at the minute. Yuri doing a great job to hold off Albert so far. Both are really wide out of the last corner there. Albert lining himself up to try and get a good slipstream. The Mercedes pretty good off the corner though. Just not able to get himself close enough down to T1. Jump on board with Albert here, just to give you see what it's like on board with Albert here, just full of that rear bumper and the Mercedes of Yuri. Doing his utmost just to try and put Yuri off in a little mistake here. Constantly showing his nose. Fill his mirrors for a Ferrari. Nice and neat through the chicane there by the both of them. Oh, big dive by Albert there. He caught that one on board. Yuri saw it coming and left. Closed the door, but managed to stay on the inside. Great driving there by Yuri to hold him off. Great attempt by Albert, but Yuri was not phased there at all. And Albert back to P8. He's going to have to throttle over again. He'll know about that one now. He'll be ready for it, so that one won't work. He's going to have to try that somewhere else. Great respect for driving those shown by these guys, giving each other enough racing room and respect. A great week on board to catch that one there from Albert. Jump on board with Berto here as he's managed to get Salvador right up on his tail now. Just he's not quite been able to hang on to the pace of James. As James has gone hunting after Tony, and Tony's realised that the both of them have really upped the pace of the last few laps. Both of those two still in the 44s, the only drivers in the 44s at the minute. These guys just dipping into the 45s in the last few laps around. Just leaving the top two guys just to start to pull away now. So we're going to get into two little battles here for P1 and 2 and for the last podium spot here between Alberto and Meto. Samir still in a fairly lowly P5. Fabian doing really well, P6. Got a bit of a gap now back to Yuri, still doing a great job of holding on to from Albert. Chris has managed to get himself past Stuart now, back up into P10, so top 10 now, Chris, after that incident at the start. And after Stuart with Vicky in P12, Dennis P13, Georgie in P14, Xavier P15, Giorgio P16, Pepin 17th, Offrey is 18th, John P19, Emmanuel P20, Mark P21, Duncan P22, and unfortunately Hoffman, after that incident we saw earlier, is in the pits. So James still able just to creep that gap down by a tenth or so a lap. He was a tenth and a half faster that last lap around. Tony has put the fastest lap of the race in so far with a 1:44.4. Now those guys are lapping around 3/10 off their fastest, so they're really pushing hard at the minute, not leaving much on the track. Well, battle of the Ferraris here for the last podium spot. Berto's still doing a really good job here to hold off to Ameto. Likewise, Yuri's still doing a great job in P7, holding off Albert in P8. Doing a great job here, getting a good exit off that last turn, just not allowing Ameto to get into the slipstream and try the possible for a pass. Jump back to Yuri here as these guys are now going to be coming out the last corner. Albert's quite close this time around. I wonder what sort of slipstream he's going to get down to turn 1. Yeah, looks like he just needs to be that bit closer coming off the last turn. It's an awesome defence from Yuri here, with the championship leader up behind him. He knows what sort of pace he's got and he's just not letting it phase him. Albert's throwing all sorts at him as we've seen so far, and he's not cracking. He's got another 27 minutes to hold off. Hopefully he'll be able to do that. Notice there, Albert takes a lot more of the chicane through their car, quite settled over the sort of sausage curbs on the chicane there. Whether that's something he's figured into his setup, just to allow that extra bit of time on the lap, just through not having been able to take a lot straighter line through the chicane much quicker. Again, Albert's just able to get a nose alongside here again as he goes for the dive down the inside. Oh, he's able to make the pass stick this time around. Just got his nose a little bit further alongside and broke real deep into the second to last corner. Third to last corner even. Great pass there by Albert. Great patience shown. Yuri put up an awesome defence there, but in the end, Albert just able to get a nose alongside and make the pass. He's got clear air ahead of him now, quite a gap ahead of him to Fabian. So we'll keep an eye on Albert's lap times now that he's going to get a free air, and quite a decent gap for him to really start getting some lap times in to push on the back of Fabian. A 3.5 second gap, if I'm reading that correctly. Never sure with this timing screen that bit up there doesn't look correct, but we shall see. It's not over for Yuri because Ezerin has managed to regroup and push up onto the back of Yuri now. So just have to recompose himself, Yuri, and back on the defence. Maybe he's able to just hang on to the back of Albert here. But this real hard long defence from him is really able to Chris Hokie to gain in on these guys. You just see him in the back there. So we see a drive through for driver 9 for track limits, I guess. Yes, that would be Samir, if that information is right. I'm sure it isn't. Oh, I'm really unsure what just happened there. It looks like there was contact between Albert and someone. What's that? Yes, no, that was a pit for Samir as he is already in. Now, it wasn't Fabian that had contact with Albert there. Who was that then? Whether that was it's definitely one of the other Lexus. It's a bit hard to see currently who that was. We've got Offries, who's quite in the same position of track for it to be him. Trying to find who the other one was. Got John. I really don't know who was in that. It's a shame because Albert was making really good progress to that point. I'm pretty sure that was a Lexus. It's just a shame for Albert. He's doing really well there, but I think that maybe, is he retired or did he just go back to get damage done? No, it looks like he's still. Oh, that's him just in the back of this group. A bit of damage, I think. To apologise there, I thought it came up pit on the broadcast tool. Alright, after that piece of concept for Albert, he's going to have to do it all over again, but this time he's going to be on the back of Chris, and I feel with Chris's sort of pace, he's going to find it such easy to get past Chris. As Chris likewise will be trying to get on the back of this group here of Yuri and Ezerin and try and make up a few of those positions lost early in the race. Looks like the gap is steadily coming down out the front. So James is doing a really good, just able to take only a couple of tenths a lap out of Tony, but consistently a little bit quicker over the last few laps. And hopefully we'll see a fight between those two towards the end of the race. Fight's just going on. We'll have a brief look at Tony's not got much air time out there on his own at the front, doing a great job so far from P2. Great start on passing Chris down out of T1 down to T2. Great fight, deserved that position he's in now, and he really got his head down and just great pace from the onset. He still currently holds the fastest lap with a 1:44.4. Last time around 44.9, so about half second off that, which is really not bad considering those tyres have done a good almost 40 minutes now. And James here's fastest lap, not far off Tony's 1:44.5, but his last lap was a 1:44.7, so a little bit faster, though that time 44.0. And Tony was able to do a 44.6, so about a 4/10 gain for Tony that time around. So pace really swinging around with these two. James doing his best to try and hunt Tony down, but Tony's doing a really good job at responding. Really hard to know how hard to push when you're out front, because it's yours to lose when you're out there, so you really don't want to overdo it. Going to jump back to Yuri and Ezrin, because these guys are really fighting hard as Chris now has joined the fight. Chris in P8, Albert P9. Yuri's got to do it all over again, though. He's been hard battling, defending hard to these guys for a long time. Likewise, Alberto also P3. Still doing a great job at holding Ameto sort of 1.5 seconds behind. Ameto just not able to make an attempt at a pass yet. Just the nature of this circuit, just not one of the easiest tracks to get a pass on. You've really got to try and force a pass or mistake out of one of the drivers. A mistake for Ezra in there through the chicane. So a little bit of breathing space for Yuri. Just gets Chris a little bit closer to the back of the Audi. This is really what Yuri wanted, just a little bit of breathing space to get his head down, take the pressure off, see if he can get a couple of quick laps in, just break these guys a little bit. Just put all the pressure now back onto Ezra in here in P7. So he's got to hold off the likes of Chris and Albert. It looked a little bit wide for Ezra in the background, still just able to hold position as we jump to these guys. Chris, a great exit there. He's going to be really close up behind Ezra as we come down to the main straight down towards turn 1. Flash of lights there trying to put him off. That didn't work for him last time. Takes a little jink out to the inside. Real late down on the brakes. Albert follows. Oh, both through in one turn. Oh, Ezra doing a great job there though, leading the AM class. He's doing a terrific job in P9. So now it's Chris's turn to go challenging after Yuri for P6. So we can jump on board with Alberto, P3 here. Still doing a great job. Got about a second and a half over Ameto in the other Ferrari. These guys pretty sort of stalemate in their lap times have been really close so far during the race. Just a little bit in Alberto's favour, I think, over the last few laps. Just opening that gap up a little bit. Jump on board with Martin here. As he's got Samir right up behind him there. Samir having to take a drive-through for excessive track cut limits, which is it's an unexpected sort of thing to see from Samir, being one of our esports drivers. Just not quite been on his top form of late. Able to set himself up for a pass there and might feel better of it. I do wonder actually whether surely Samir can't be lapped down and unlapping himself. No, just my screen didn't update there. Maybe Martin thinking that knowing the sort of pace that Samir's able to, that it'd be better just to not make it difficult for him and just get in his wheel tracks and see if he can gain a bit of pace from just following one of the esports drivers around. Drop back down to Manuel here and the Lambo. So P19 currently, I think he got caught up in a little bit of incident early on because he was definitely a lot higher up, and he's been sort of leading the field with the AM class so far. Been doing a really good job in the Lambo. Currently only P20 at the minute. We're going to jump back up to these top guys, as again these guys are real close. It's where the battle's really going on at the minute. Afraid to sort of look away for more than a few seconds. Real close. Chris up behind Yuri. Those are coming towards the chicane. Probably a little bit too close. Actually lost himself a little bit of time through there. Well, pressure is really on Yuri at the minute. He's got 3 drivers right up behind him, and two of them being esports drivers. Real quick, but Yuri's doing a brilliant job of holding these guys off. Just 15 more minutes to sort of hold this up. As we see Tony again, a couple of tenths faster than James that last lap. See, the last few laps, Tony's actually been able to pull away again just that little bit. The pace just ebbing and flowing as Yuri tries to defend the inside, but Chris just able to get his nose up alongside, opens the door, and unfortunately that has opened the door also for Albert to come through. Whether Yuri will now have the inside line, hopefully defend the position, but Albert goes deep. He's going to try carry momentum around the outside. Whether he's done enough to keep the position, he has. Great pass there by Chris and through Albert. Shame there, Yuri done great a job up to this point just to try and hold these guys off, as we see another penalty for drive-through penalty for driver number 27. That is Ezra, just behind him in the Audi there. Such a shame to see a couple of guys having to do drive-throughs, but he'll have to serve that. I can see there's going to be quite a fight here between these two drivers now. They've got fresh air. Chris done a really good job from taking a brilliant qualifying to get P1. Unfortunately, he did lose the lead to the great pass from Tony, and just sort of settling himself into the race, and there's a bit of contact between him and James in the first few laps that demoted him right back down the end of the field. So he's done a great job from down sort of P18 and P19 to get back up to P6, but I fear he's not going to possibly be able to get any further with just 15 minutes left, whereas Albert actually started at the back of the grid, up about 5 places in the first lap. Got himself up into P6, and there was contact with another driver just as he got past all these guys and put him straight back behind him again, having to make up all that time all over again. As Chris just could feel that there was a bit of a dive coming possibly from Albert there, and defended the inside before it ever happened. Driver instinct there. Yuri doing a great job to hang on the back of these guys. He'll be hoping to try and make an attack back and get one of those positions back if he can. Just jump onto Tony here. So the gap is down to 1.7 now, 0.8. That gap has slowly come down on a whole between the two of them, but Tony had been the quicker of the few over the last few laps, but James actually managed to put his fastest lap of the race in the last time around, virtually matching Tony's fastest lap by 0.03 of a second, and that promoted him almost a half a second, that last lap. Now if James can really throw caution to the wind and sort of keep that sort of pace up, he might have a chance of getting on the back of him, as they virtually identical lap times the last lap around. We will keep an eye on that, but we'll jump back to this battle between Chris and Albert here, because definitely feel there's something's bubbling up to happen here in the next few laps of the race. And both of these drivers have been unfortunate through incidents today, so they'll both be out trying to make as many points as possible out of this race. Albert again just showing his nose down to turn 1. Chris is too good a driver to let that one bother him. We're going to jump back. We've got a little group here of we've got Mark, Emmanuel, and I believe that might be a leading car catching them up in the background. Mark doing a good job here in the McLaren to hold off Emmanuel for P19. Whether that's, yeah, that definitely is a car that will want to be getting past. So they should be getting blue flags for him. There they are. Oh, almost ran into the back of Mark there, did Emmanuel. Just managed to jump out of the way in time. Now, if he's clever, he could just hang on the back of the passing Ferrari here. See if he can use that to his advantage to get a pass on Mark. Just not quite able to hang on the back of him at the minute. As we jump on board here, I don't know if there's been a small mistake because there's lost about a second in that lap, Tony, and look at this. James is right on the back of him now. Only half a second with 10 minutes to go, so we're going to see a fight for the win here. Finally, we're going to see a fight for the win right at the end of the race. Tony has had no pressure all race long, so we'll see how he deals once James gets right on the back of him. A drive through for off his bad moon as well in the Lexus. We're going to see a great couple of fights over the last 10 minutes with Tony and James for the race win. And Chris and Albert for P6. I'll try and make sure we don't miss any of the action between these two drivers, these four drivers, and these two bunches. As Chris and Albert have managed to start to reel in on Fabian P5, so they might even be able to get inside the top 5. Those two drivers, great job from where they've had to come during this race. Just jump on with these two, so they're pretty close right now. Actually, these guys are going to be going down the start-finish straight, so we'll jump back down to Tony and James for now. Yeah, again, James, but it was a half second that lap, so just a couple of bad laps for Tony over the last couple, losing a whole second in one lap. So, he's been doing so good all race. Shame to see him lose such a chunk there in one go. I see Chris and Albert here now come around the last turn to the main start finish straight. Chris able to just break the gap a little bit on Albert. So it looks like actually there is a fair gap to Fabian out front. That was been another car close, my mistake. Jump back on board with Tony and James currently to come through the chicane. Oh, heavy use of the curbs there for James. Just unsettles the car a little bit. There's a 10-4-2 there for excessive curb use. We've definitely seen a few with drive-through penalty for excessive cut tracks, so don't want to see himself get a penalty this late on the race. Got to be careful. Done a really good job, James, after the incident early on, losing a few positions. He's fought hard throughout the rest of the race, trying to regain the lost positions, and finally able to be in a position to actually challenge for the race win right in the last few minutes of the race. Follow them out at the last turn. This is probably actually coming at a good time for Tony, this back marker, because he's actually going to give him a nice drag down the start-finish straight here. As long as he sees it and gets out of the way in time, which he does a great job doing. Mark there, nice reliable driver in Mark. No problems there, out of the way of both drivers, same time, straight through, and they continue their fight for the race win. So you're going to jump on board with Chris and Albert as they're now going to be coming around the last corner. Looks like they also have got a little gaggle of back markers here having their own fight, so this will be interesting. These guys have got to let these guys through, but at the same time they're trying to battle each other for position as they take. So McLaren gets down the inside into turn 1. Hopefully the Lexus stays nice and wide. Yeah, lets them both through. Great driving there by the Lexus of John. That's Fraser there in the McLaren ahead. Hopefully he'll see the blue flags and he'll get out of their way on this next straight. Yeah, he pulls straight out of the way. Great driving there by Fraser. Allows these guys to continue on with their battle. Battle going on down here, P13, P14. Dennis P13 doing a good job in the Mercedes here to hold off to Georgie P14. My mistake, that's a back marker. Reading from the wrong screen. Do apologise. We'll jump back to where the fight's going on at the minute. With Chris still holding on to Albert, from Albert. Just showing how hard it is to pass around here, even with the long straight here at Hungaroring. They're just not able to make use of the slipstream. Just with a lot of long right hand and last turn, just hard to be able to stay running the wheel tracks to driver ahead. Likewise, we jump on board with Tony and James here with the back markers. They're having to get past us, really allowing James to get on the back of him here. Tony going to have to go defensive. James has a little look, steeks his nose down the inside. Oh, thanks for putting that Assetto Corsa sign there as we can't see what's going on. Left each other room and Tony's been able to hold the inside for the next turn. James not possibly able to give it everything around the outside, knowing that the back marker was there. Oh, great opportunistic driving from James, trying to make best use of the back markers for the pass. Wasn't quite able to keep it stick. As Tony holds on to the lead with just 4 minutes of the race left. Few laps left for James to try and make another attempt at it. He's in the slipstream, but just not close enough yet to make a pass down to turn 1. Is there an opportunity to go down to pass 2? No, great exit for Tony. He's just got to compose himself, just a couple more laps to go. We're going to jump on board with Chris Albert here, so then they come around the last turn. See if Albert's able to make any better use of the slipstream. Just not showing to be quite that as effective down here, as I'm sure they're running quite a high downforce package today, being that such a tight twisted circuit. Not really sort of power dependent around here. Like James is still doing his most to try and really get under that back bumper of Tony and really put the pressure on, because I think that's where the pass is going to come. It's whether he can force a mistake out of his opponent. Interesting graphics going on there with James's car. That's a really great place in the Assetto Corsa sign when we can't see the track. Great advertisement, but maybe you need a slightly lower camera, please. Another back marker here. Now again, this one might actually play to the advantage of Tony, just giving him a slight slipstream, negating the effect of James's, but oh, a massive slide coming out of the last turn for Tony. Allows the opportunity for James to get down the inside. Oh, this is not what Tony wanted. Slightly distracted probably by the back marker. What's Tony going to do? What can he do? Well, he can try for the undercut, back up the inside. He managed to get his nose down the inside, but James is going to have the inside for the next turn. Oh, what a great pass there by James. Well read to get down the inside into turn 1. Not much Tony can do here. He's got to try it around the outside, but it's the longer route. Doesn't always work. He gets the power down easy, gets his nose on the inside. Oh, James gets the pass made. Just not enough room there for Tony. What a shame. He's done such a great job leading the race all the way. Have it snatched from him in the last couple of minutes. Has he got anything left in the tank? Has he got any tyres left to quickly regroup and get back on the back of James? He's only going to have maybe one lap or one attempt to do it. We shall see if he's got anything left, but nonetheless, great driving by James to make that pass. Possibly slightly distracted by the back marker of Tony, trying to put the power down. He got a big slide coming out of the last turn, just really killed his momentum on the straight, and that's what we were saying. We just needed a mistake to let the driver through. It looks like Chris has managed to neutralise the threat from Albert currently, as we're going to jump on board here with Stuart just holding off the other BMW of Vicky here. He's done a great job to hold on to P10 currently. Let's say probably just going to see one more lap possibly. Saying that, Chris has got Albert right back in his wheel tracks again. As we get the call, leaders now at the final lap. Tony's trying his best to get close to James, but he's just not close enough. You really feel that as they went up onto the last lap, that was his best opportunity down to turn 1 and 2. Possibly not any opportunity for Tony to get this back down. Likewise, last chance for Albert now down to turn 1 and 2. Good clean exit by Chris there. Good exit by Albert as well, but just not able to get close enough coming out of the last corner. As those two also going at their last lap. Just stay on board with these next couple of corners. See if Albert's able to. Big slide coming out of turn 1 for Albert. Gives a bit of breathing space to Chris as we jump back on board with the leader. James, after a little incident early in the race, managed to ford his way back through the pack. Been fighting Tony for the last half of the race, slowly reeling him in, bit by bit. Just able to put the pressure on. A couple of little mistakes by Tony. That's all he's made all race, and that's all it's taken for James to able to snatch the win from him in the last couple of minutes of the race. As I saw that car go flying off, I thought that was James. I thought he's flashing his lights, thought he'd done the win, and he'd gone and lost it 2 corners from the end. But that was very deceiving with another blue Mercedes right in front of him. As that's some very interesting car graphics there, but I'm sure he is okay. And James has come on to win the race today at Hungaroring. Great job there by James. Unfortunate for Tony, really unfortunate. He'd done a great job up to this point. Alberto in the Ferrari done a great job to hang on to P3. Managed to slowly pull away from Ameto in the end. Does a great job to hold on to P4. P5 for Fabian, great job in the Lexus. We're going to jump on board with Chris. Still just able to hold on to the P6 position from Albert. Great job of both these drivers after unfortunate start to the race for those two. Yuri done a great job in P8, holding off a lot of the guys for a long time. Great driving by him in a well-deserved P8 position, and likewise P9 for Samir. Stuart in the closing laps of the race has managed to keep P10 from Vicky. A great job for those two. Ezrin unfortunately did have a drive through, losing quite a few positions after what was quite a solid race, and will be a win for the AM class. That possibly was one of the cars that we lost earlier on, and that looks like the rest of them have finished. Well, it's been a great race today. I've been treated to some great battles up and down the grid, and here's your final positions. Again, I've been Jake from redlinemotorsport.co.uk. I hope you've enjoyed the race as much as I have, and we'll see you all next time.